Hi guys, welcome back to another day of 9th grade Integrated Mathematics 1 Standard and Advanced Honors with Mrs. Manley. Today, the first thing I need to have you do is add these three words to your word wall list because I believe I forgot to put these up on your Monday, Tuesday lessons. So go ahead on your quarter 2 word wall list and you're going to add rate of change, initial value, and slope intercept form. This should take you up to, I believe, 10 word wall words total. So we're about 2/3 of the way through our word wall. Remember, if you have missed any, you can go back into the videos to get them. You can also go to my website through the LHS webpage by clicking on directory and my name, and I always have word wall listed there as well. So again, pause your screen now to go ahead and write these words down. Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and pick up right here on write the equation of the table. I'm going to go ahead and say that you guys are just a little bit ahead of my in-class learners since I was out of school 2 days last week. So hopefully they're going to get caught up with you in these next couple of days. So far we've reviewed slope on a graph, writing the equation of a graph, going from arithmetic explicit form to slope intercept form, finding the rate of change of a table, and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and add on to that a little bit more today. So the end of our last video, we were just finding the slope of a table. And remember, we find the slope of a table by using our slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? But today we're going to take that a step further, okay? Because along with our slope, which is the m in my y equals mx plus b, we need to find the b, which is my y-intercept. Now, y-intercept is pretty easy to identify if you have an x that's equal to 0. But if not, we have to try other options. Okay, so we're going to start with that today. Let me go ahead and erase this off my screen. All right, so for table number 1, we're going to go ahead and start with the slope. So again, that formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I need to pick any 2 points. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose the first 2. As long as this is linear, it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to say x1, x2. So if this is x1, this has to be y1. If this is x2, this has to be y2. And then I'm going to plug in. So y2 comes first, 5, and then it's minus y1, 6, over x2, negative 8, minus x1, negative 9. So then I'm going to say 5 minus 6 is negative 1, over negative 8 minus a negative 9. Subtracting a negative is adding a positive. So negative 8 plus 9 is positive 1. So then my slope is negative 1 divided by 1, which is negative 1. Now, I still need a y-intercept. Okay, I still need a y-intercept. So remember, your y-intercept is wherever your line touches the y-axis. Okay? So what you have to think about is when you're thinking about a point that's touching the y-axis, let's say that this was at 2. Okay? Then that point is at 0, 2, over 0 up 2. If it were down here, it would be over 0 down 5, for example. So to have a y-intercept, your x has to be 0. So when we look at on a table, the first thing that we want to look for is to where x is equal to 0. So when I look at this first table, I don't have a place where x is equal to 0. Now, I could follow the pattern to get to 0, so that's an option. So for example, let me pull my pen back up. I could say, okay, this is going to keep going down 1. This is going up by 1. Negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, and so on. So I could say it's going to go negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0. And then I would continue the other side. Okay, so this side stopped at 6, 5, 4, 3. So 2, 1, 0, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. And then I would say, okay, here's where x is equal to 0. So my y-intercept is negative 3. That's one way we could do it. Another way that you can do it is you can plug into your y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we have everything that we need. Okay, so I need a y, an x, a slope, and then I can solve for b, my y-intercept. So I can pick any point off the table. So if I choose this first point, negative 9, 6, my y is 6 equals, my slope m is negative 1 times, my x is negative 9, and then I have plus b. So I'm just plugging in. Now I would say 6 equals negative 1 times negative 9 is positive 9 plus b. I thought that was a 6 for a second. Then I'm going to subtract 9 on both sides. 6 minus 9 is negative 3 equals b, which again matches up to what I found right here. So you could do either one. You could complete the table, or you can plug into your y equals mx plus b. Sometimes you're not going to be able to complete the table, and you'll have to use the method of plugging in. Alright, so I'm going to erase all this work off. Alright, so we have our m and our b. So now all that's left to do is to write our equation. So y equals m x plus b, which in this case is minus b. Or in math, we usually just say negative x minus 3. It's unnecessary to put the 1. All right, let's try another. So for number 2, again, I need to start by picking any 2 points. So I'm going to choose 0 because it's easy to work with. So 0, 7, and then 1, 8 because they're both positive. I just feel like they'll be a little bit easier to work with. Go back to my pen. Alright, so x1, x2, y1, y2. So y2, 8, minus y1, 7, over x2, 1, minus x1, 0. 8 minus 7 is 1, 1 minus 0 is 1. So my m is 1. Now, on this one, I lucked out. I have an x that's equal to 0. So the point 0, 7 is my y-intercept. So that means my y-intercept is 7. Then I just plug in y equals 1x plus 7 would be the equation of my table. All right, let's do number 3 together, and then I'm going to have you try 4 and 5. All right, so for 3, my numbers are all positive, so I'm just going to go with this one and this one, just because. All right, x1, x2, y1, y2. All right, so y2, 5, minus y1, 2, over x2, minus x1. 5 minus 2 is 3. 8 minus 2 is 6. 3 over 6 will simplify to 1 over 2. And again, now I need my x is equal to 0. So I have 2 options. I can go until I find 0. So in this case, my x's are counting up 2, 4, 6, 8. So to get to 0, I would have to go back. Okay, so if I'm going up by 2, if I go back by 2, 2 minus 2 will give me 0. My y's are counting up by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can say 2 minus 1 is 1. And I'll get a b that's equal to 1. Again, if you couldn't remember to do it that way, you could say y equals mx plus b. Pick 2 points. Sorry, guys. There we go. So, or pick a point. So I'm going to use this one, 2, 2. So my y is 2. My slope m is 1/2. My x is also 2. And then plus b. So 2 equals 1/2 of 2 is 1 plus b. Subtract 1 on both sides, and b equals 1, which again matches up. So you get y equals 1/2 x plus 1. Right? So go ahead and pause your screen to go ahead and complete 4 and 5, and then unpause to see how you did. Alright, for number 4, I chose the point 0, -7, and 3, -16 to plug in for my slope. So I had a -16 minus a -7, subtracting a negative is adding a positive. So -16 plus 7. My signs are different, so I'm going to subtract. 16 minus 7 is 9. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so -9. And then x2, 3 minus x1, 0. So -9 divided by 3 is -3. For my y-intercept, it's right up here where x is equal to 0, so it's -7. And then I plug in y equals -3x minus 7. 5 was a little tougher. First of all, it's all negatives. So I chose -12, -16, and -14, -24. So I plugged in y2 minus y1, -24 minus -16. Subtracting negatives, adding a positive. -24 plus 16. So I subtracted. 24 minus 16 is 8, and I kept the sign of a larger number, so I get -8. And then -14 minus a -12. Again, subtracting a negative is actually adding a positive. So -14 plus 12 is -2. -8 by -2 makes +4, so my m is 4. And then this one would be pretty tough to go backwards and find, so I just plugged in. So I chose the point -10, -8. I wrote that over here, and then I plugged in, okay, x, y. So -8 for y equals m4 times x, -10, plus b. I get -8 equals -40 plus b. Add 40 on both sides, and 32 is equal to b. All right. Up next, how do I find slope between 2 points? You're going to do it the exact same way that you did your tables. So slope between 2 points, you're going to use y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you need to make sure you label your points. So first x, first y, second x, second y, x1, y1, x2, y2, x1, y1, x2, y2, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay? Once you've got them labeled, just plug them in. So y2, 6, minus y1, -2, over x2, 2, minus x1, -2. Subtracting a negative is adding a positive. Subtracting a negative is adding a positive. So 6 plus 2 is 8. 2 plus 2 is 4. And 8 over 4 simplifies to 2 over 1, or just 2. So my slope equals 2. Give myself some space here. Right, so again, let's try it on number 2. Do this one together, and then you'll do the next two on your own. So again, we're going to plug in y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So again, subtracting a negative is adding a positive. So -5 plus 3. Different sign, so I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so -2. Over 2 minus -1. Again, subtracting a negative is adding a positive. So 2 plus 1 is 3. -2/3 will not simplify further, so I'm going to leave it. M equals -2/3. Remember, we want to leave it a fraction if it comes out a fraction, because slope on a graph is rise over run. So fractions are good. So go ahead and pause your screen here and complete 3 and 4. Then unpause to see how you did. right. I think I forgot to pause. So for number 3, we had 2 minus a negative 1 over 7 minus 1. 2 minus negative 1, subtracting negatives, adding a positive. So I get 3 over 6 equals 1/2. 4 was a special case. Negative 2 minus 7, same sign, so add and keep the sign, negative 9. Over 4 minus 4 is 0. And if you think back to when we did special cases a few days ago, I'm just going to go back. We talked about how you cannot divide by 0 in math. It's not possible. We call that undefined. So when you look back at today's problem, as soon as you see that 0 in the denominator, it's undefined. And you have to make sure to write undefined. You can't write 0. Negative 9 divided by 0 is not 0. Okay? If you pull up your calculator on your phone right now and you put in negative 9 divided by 0, it's probably going to say error because it can't be done. Or if you ask Siri, what's negative 9 divided by 0, she's going to explain to you that you can't divide by 0. If you need extra practice, go ahead and work these. So you can pause here to work these. And I will go ahead and get the answers put up for you to check. Alright, if you paused your screen to do some additional practice, you would have gotten m equals 2 for for problem 5. M equals negative 4/7 for problem number 6 because 8 over negative 14 can be simplified. They're both divisible by 2. M equals 6 for 7. And then for 8, you're going to get m equals 0. It's okay for 0. Sorry, guys. It's okay for 0 to be in the numerator. Okay, we can say 0 divided by 5. We can't say 5 divided by 0. All right, writing linear functions to evaluate scenarios. So we're going to involve some real world in here now. So a tree is currently 10 feet tall and grows 2 feet per year. Write the equation. How tall will the tree be in 15 years? So to write an equation in slope-intercept form, we need 2 things. We need the slope or rate of change. Usually in a word problem, we're going to call it rate of change. And then B, we need the y-intercept, which we usually call an initial value in a word problem. So I'm going to change color. Maybe I'll just change to highlighter. So when you're thinking about rate of change and initial value, your initial value is your starting point. So when we go back to this problem and read, a tree is currently 10 feet tall and grows 2 feet per year. Which one is the initial value, the starting piece? My starting piece is 10 feet, okay, 10 feet tall. That's my starting point, my initial value, all right? And then my rate of change, the rate of change is how much it's changing. So it's changing 2 feet per year. So then I can go back here and I can say, okay, my rate of change, M, is that 2 feet per year. And my initial value, my starting point, is 10. Another clue is that per year. Per year means it has to be multiplied by something. And we know M is multiplied by X. MX plus B. Initial value is just by itself. And then we'll just make our equation. So Y equals 2X plus 10. Now we can answer question 2. How tall will the tree be in 15 years? How tall will the tree be in 15 years? So I'm going to plug in 15. The question is, where do I plug it in? Okay, what's representing years in this problem? So remember, this is 2 feet per year. So I can plug the 15 in place of the X. So I'm going to say Y equals 2 feet times 15 years plus I started out at 10 feet. Distribute 2 times 15 is 30 plus 10 So in 15 years, my tree is going to be 40 feet. 40 feet. Okay, let's try another one. Mr. Thompson is on a diet. He currently weighs 260 pounds. He loses 4 pounds each month. So again, we need two things: the rate I'm changing at and my initial value. Okay, so my current weight, or Mr. Thompson's current weight, is 260 pounds. Okay, that's his starting point, his initial value. He's losing 4 pounds each month. So my M is that he's losing 4 pounds. So think about how we would show he's losing 4 pounds. That would be -4. And his starting point is 260 pounds. So we're going to say y equals -4x plus 260, which tells me I'm losing -4 pounds per month. X is my per month, plus my initial weight of 260. So how much will Mr. Thompson weigh in 1 year and 2 months? 1 year and 2 months. Okay, so we have to remember this X is per month, so we need to change this to months. So 1 year is 12 months, so 12 months plus 2 months is 14 months. Do a little conversion. Now we plug in y equals, I'm losing 4 pounds every month for 14 months, plus my original weight. So -4 times 14. So -4 times 10 is -40. 4 times 4 is 16. So that should be -56. I'll pull out my calculator just to make sure. Yep. So -56 plus 260. So then we'll just subtract or add -56 plus 260. So in a year and 2 months, he will weigh 204 pounds. All right, you try this one. Pause your screen here, read through your problem, write your equation, and how much will Xavion have in 5 months? All right. So again, I need my rate of change and my initial value. So Xavion opens a savings account with $450. All right. So it tells me he opens it with that much. So that's my starting amount, my initial value. He saves $175 per month. Per means over and over and over. That's my rate of change. Assume that he does not withdraw any money or make any additional deposits. So if we started our account with $450 and we only put in $175 a month, that's what we want to write the equation for. So I'm going to have y equals $175 per month plus the $450 I started with. So number 2, how much money will Xavion have in 5 months? So I'm going to have y equals $175 per month for 5 months, plus I started with $450. 175 times 5 is going to give me $875 plus the $450 I started with. It's going to give me, in 5 months, I'll have to save $1,325. Alright, this is going to be our last one for today, and then you'll have another graded exit ticket. A faucet leaks water at a constant rate. Okay, so constant rate, that's my rate of change, however it's leaking. Dawn places a measuring cup under the leak to catch the water. The table shows the number of milliliters of water in the cup at different times. So here's our table. Time and hour, so that's my X. And amount of water in milliliters is my Y. So it says, first of all, determine the average rate of change. Okay, so that means we need to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm just going to use the first 2 points, x1, x2, y1, y2. And we'll plug in 24 minus 14 over 5.5 minus 3. 24 minus 14 is 10. 5.5 minus 3 is 2.5. And then that would simplify. So 10 divided by 2.5 is going to give you 4. So my rate of change is 4. Now, think about what that 4 means. Okay? Because you could say 4, but if you don't understand what the 4 represents, it's not enough. Okay? So 4 is the same as 4 over 1. Remember that rate of change is y over x. Okay? So if we look back to the description for y, okay, that's the amount of water in milliliters. So 4 milliliters, and then my x is hours. Okay, so this rate of change tells me that I am leaking 4 milliliters of water every 1 hour. Okay, 4 milliliters of water per 1 hour. All right, part B, write a function to model the table of values. So for that part, we're going to need my B. Okay, this one is not going to be easy to find by going backwards, so we're going to plug in. So y equals mx plus b. So let's just use the first 2 points. So I'll have my y is 14 equals my m 4 times my x is 3 plus b. Okay, so then I'll come over here. 14 equals 4 times 3 is 12 plus b. Subtract 12 on both sides. I get 2 equals b. So my m is 4. My rate of change is 4. My initial value is 2. So my function would be y equals 4x plus 2. Alright, C. Determine the amount of water in the cup after the faucet leaks at a constant rate for 14 hours. Alright, so again, we know that right now we're leaking 4 milliliters per hour. Okay, 4 milliliters per hour. So we can say y equals 4 milliliters times 14 hours plus the 2 that we started out with. So 4 times 14 is going to be 56 plus 2. So after 14 hours, I'm going to have leaked 58 milliliters of water. Alright, so I will put this exit ticket up in Kidem for you, but you've got just 2 questions today. What is the slope of the graph, and which of the following tables have a rate of change of 2? And then next week, we're going to review solving linear equations. Remember that even though this is an even week, Friday at school for the traditional learners, the in-person learners, we are having a homecoming carnival and fall festival and pep rally. So we're not having classes all day, which means you guys won't have classes either. At least I'm not giving you classes. So take Friday off. Catch up on anything that you might need to catch up on. Make sure if you haven't done your Microsoft form for Wednesday, you get that completed. If these are the Thursday students listening, I hope you did your form for Wednesday. Make sure everyone that you get your form for Friday completed by midnight. Every time you do not do your form by Wednesday and Friday on midnight, you're counted an absence. Okay? When we go in to check those numbers, it tells us the exact date and time you submitted the form. So if you submit the form after Wednesday or Friday at midnight, it's not going to count. Okay? Make sure you're getting it in. Along with that, if you are submitting the form but you are not completing assignments, you are also getting marked absent. Okay? Have a great day.